Hello creeps! Andy here, and today I have my reading wrap up for you guys, all the books that I read in October, which happened to be quite a bit. So let's just jump on in and yeah, let me know what you guys read, what books you like, and all that kind of stuff. Let's begin. The first one that I read, I took notes for you guys, was Riley Sager's The Only One Left. And I've been really enjoying Riley Sager books this month, or this year, and this is the one that was published this year, I believe. Yeah, so I decided to pick up the new guy to see how it was. And this is probably, I've enjoyed all of the books that I've read from him, but this is probably my least favorite of them. It's about a girl, when she was younger, murdered her parents and her sister, and then grew up old in her house and kind of became the urban legend of the town. Well, she ends up becoming ill, and a local caretaker has been assigned to go and take care of her, and the caretaker has, you know, a past of her own that we don't quite know about. And this book is wild. There are so many twists and turns in here. I talked about it in a previous video and I equated it to the movie Wild Things. If you guys have seen that movie from the 90s where every other scene is a twist and at the end you're just like, oh my gosh. That's kind of how I felt about this one. You don't know where it's going, that's for sure. Even if you figure out 5 of the twists, there's 27 more, so there is that. But I did find some of the twists just a little too unbelievable, and so I couldn't fully get into this one. There is another reason why too. I really like Riley Sager books because I'm able to connect with his characters, and I also thought that I was going to connect with this main character as well, the caretaker. However, because everybody has kind of like a mystery in their past, all the characters have to keep you at arm's length, which makes sense for the story, but it really made me feel different than I felt from every other Riley Sager book. My favorite is still The Last Time I Lied. That book is fantastic. But even still, I've enjoyed all the other books that he wrote. But also, I did think that it was interesting because at the same time that she's going to care for this older woman, the house is kind of crumbling. And so I did think that this like tilted funhouse effect of the dilapidated mansion kind of mirrored the reader's feeling when you're reading the whole book. You just kind of feel like thrown off and you don't really know what to expect. So I thought that it was done purposefully, but I just don't know how believable the story was. So that's how I feel about this guy. Let me know if you guys have read this one. But he does do a really great job in his stories of kind of throwing you off and not knowing exactly what's going to happen, which doesn't happen very often in thrillers, so I think that's why I enjoy his work. Next up, I read Cutie Pies and Deadly Lies. This is by Addison Moore. So you guys know that last month I read pumpkin spice books for fall, and this was one that I randomly picked up. I thought it was the cutest story ever, and so I was like, well, I'm gonna buy the next one in the series because that was number 3, but number 4 takes place during Christmas, so I was like, okay, I'll just go back and read the first 2 because the first 2 are fall ones too. You can pick up any one you want, but just know that the previous ones will be ruined for you. But anyways, I read this one. It's just about this like cute little baker, and she lives in a cute little town, and there's a murder, and she tries to solve the murder, and she can see dead animals, dead pets of people who might die. It's kind of weird, but also a really cute story. So I read this one to just kind of get caught up on the Addison Moore, and can I tell you, I am so excited to curl up with a blanket this December and read more cozy mysteries. That fall book was my first introduction to cozy mysteries. I've never read any of them before. So if you have any other cozy mysteries that you enjoy, leave them down below so that I could pick up some other ones, especially if they're like Christmassy. Oh, I'm so excited. This was the next book that I read. This is Eric LaRocca's Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke and Other Stories. So there's a few stories in here. It's just 3 stories. So the Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke is such a cool story. It really is just a freaking blast. It's about these 2 girls that meet online, and I actually don't even want to tell you what it's about. I think it's one that you should just not even know about and jump right in. It's weird, it's odd, it's gross at times, and a few of you have asked me what a good like intro to more extreme horror is that doesn't have non-consensual sexual stuff in there, and I've been having a really hard time thinking of books to recommend, but I think this is a great intro to extreme horror, because I wouldn't call it an extreme horror book, but I think that it's odd and weird and gross enough that it is kind of like a stepping stone into extreme horror. I don't know, leave me your comments down below on how you feel about this one, but I loved every page of this, of Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. I thought it was so fun. It's just odd, it's written very uniquely, and yeah, there's a lot that I really enjoyed about it. I also think there's enough under the surface where you can kind of analyze and pick apart some weird things, and you're like, that's kind of strange. And so I really enjoyed this. I will say, however, that the second two stories in here I had a really hard time connecting with, because I think I loved Things Have Gotten Worse so much that the other stories felt a little short to me. And that's just my opinion on it. If you had the option of picking up Things Have Gotten Worse or this copy with other stories, I personally would have just preferred the Things Have Gotten Worse, I think. I don't think I needed the 2 additional stories. They didn't add as much as I thought that they would, but I still loved this, and I'm very excited to read other work from him. So if you guys have read other stories from him that are as weird as this one, please leave them down below, because I will absolutely pick them up and give them a read, because I really enjoyed this. I thought it was fun. The next 5 I read for the extreme horror vlog thing that I did, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, and just know I'm not recommending these next 5 for everyone. Do your own research, but these are extreme horror books. Actually, I only have 3. Maybe did I only read 3? I just remembered another one that I read, but it was on my iPad. Okay, so the first one was It's Me, Charlie. This is by C.M. Guidroz. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is just about a man who befriends a girl on like a book community website online, and they become friends, and because she writes erotic novels, he thinks that he understands what she wants. He kidnaps her, and then the story continues from there. I bought this one because I heard so many people talk about how creepy it was, and I was just a little confused, because it is a fun story and I did enjoy it, and there are things in here that are disturbing and stuff, but I don't think creepy is the right word. I finally picked up Gone to See the Riverman by Christopher Triana. I loved this book. I thought it was such a blast. Yeah, it was so fun. It was the perfect book to get me in the mood for fall. It's about a girl who befriends a serial killer in jail, and he sends her on a mission to find a key and bring it to the Riverman. It's so unique, it's so creepy, it's so fun. Absolutely loved this story. Again, not recommending it for everyone, do your own research, all that kind of stuff, but such a blast. The next one I read was His Pain by Wrath James White, I think, and that one was such a roller coaster. It's about a kid. There's something wrong with some part of his brain, and so he interprets everything as pain. Like any sound, any touch, anything, any sensation is painful to him. And so he lives for, I think, into his teens, and his parents find this man who they believe can help him, and he ends up blurring pain and pleasure together, and then madness just ensues. This book is absolutely wild. Yeah, the cover was fantastic. The story was great. Again, not recommending it for everyone. Very disturbing, very dark pieces in here, but wow, was it a roller coaster. I also found the moral of it kind of beautiful in a weird way. You'll have to go back and watch my reading vlog if you want more detail, but I did think that there was a moral of the story that I uncovered in my reading, at least. Not necessarily that's there for everyone, but I found it a very positive moral of the story in a very disturbing story. So I don't know, that's what I found. The next one was Talia by Daniel J. You guys told me how to pronounce this, and I also now can't remember. I don't know if it's Velope or Velope. I think I said it incorrectly both times. I apologize. Anyways, I read this one. This one I also enjoyed. It's about a woman who gets forced into the porn industry, which slowly turns into them making snuff films. I also don't want to give too much away about this one because the back doesn't really tell you anything, but about halfway through it kind of changes and turns into a whole different story. This one was pretty hard to read though. Just the, you know, I mean, they're snuff films. It wasn't all that relaxing of a read, if you know what I mean. It's just kind of chock full of horrible things. So there's that one. I still did enjoy the story though. I thought it was pretty interesting. I guess after that, I didn't have enough of the gore because I read Offseason by Jack Ketchum, or maybe I started this one before and then finished it after I read those. Anyways, I read Jack Ketchum's Offseason, and the first half of the book I wasn't sure how I felt about it because the only other Jack Ketchum book that I read was The Girl Next Door, which disturbed the living crap out of me. However, the character development in that book is just amazing, and that's why it's so disturbing, because you can almost feel for the characters. And this one, it was a bit different, but then I found out that it was his first book, and that impressed me that this was someone's first book. And so, yeah, then I just kind of went along for the ride, and then the ending. And then I got to the ending. It's just about a group of cannibals that abducts people and does horrible things. I believe it was also the inspiration behind The Hills Have Eyes, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, my husband's probably home. It gets pretty gnarly at the end. There's just so much bloodshed and mayhem that happens. So yeah, this one was interesting too. And yeah, I enjoyed this one. That was fun. Cannibalism. Yay. Next, I read Recursion by Blake Crouch. This is the same author of Dark Matter. I love that book. So I decided to pick up this one. Whew, this one was a ride. It is about, man, can I even give this away? I don't want to. Oh yeah, okay. It's about an epidemic that is spreading. I'm just gonna kind of read the back because I don't want to give away too much, where people have false memories inputted into their minds. And so they remember whole lifetimes that they had with people, and then when they go and find those people, they're like, I've never met you before. Nobody can figure out what it is. There's a detective that's trying to figure out the truth, and also a neuroscientist who holds the key. They and the world are trapped in a loop of ever-growing chaos. That's all it says. So that's where I'll leave it. I didn't know what to think when I picked this guy up, and I thought it was going to be more like Dark Matter. Dark Matter is a thriller as well. They're both science fiction books. I really don't know why they're in the thriller section. That must be like a marketing thing, because they're for sure sci-fis, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. They're thrillers too, but like I think they belong in the sci-fi section. Anyways, really enjoyed this one. However, still enjoy Dark Matter more. Dark Matter was more like, it made you think, but because the character is separate from yourself, separate from the world, you can look at him and be like, wow, that sucks that you're in that position, but I'm okay over here. And so that one was a little bit easier to digest, and it really does make you think about things, but from a safe distance. This one, however, you are in the middle of the chaos, and the whole time it just gave me anxiety. It just stressed me out. I did not enjoy this read, although it was a good book. It just stressed me out. It made me and my husband have very philosophical talks at 2 a.m. and argue about things that were needless to argue about. It just really does mess with your head more than anything. And where I feel like Dark Matter had some humor, some breaks of humor, and some things to separate the chaos, this was just a never-ending loop of hell. That's what it was. And so yeah, this one just gave me an existential crisis. If you want that, if you want to not be able to sleep, if you want anxiety, pick this one up. Otherwise, I would still recommend Dark Matter. Sorry, I know that probably stresses you guys out when you hear that. The last two books real quick, I reread Dark Harvest by Norman Partridge. I did a whole movie-verse book on this, so I don't think I have to go into too much detail, but it's such a cute little folklore tale about Halloween in the 60s in this remote little town where all the children have to go, well, all the boys have to go and try to murder this little thing called the October Boy with a pumpkin head and a scarecrow body, and it's just absolutely adorable. And last up, I don't know what order I read this one in because I didn't put it on my list for some reason, but I did read Bobbing for Bodies by Addison Moore. This was the Halloween one, so I wanted to read it for October. Again, same thing, a baker, a murder happens, and she tries to figure it out. Such a cute story. But otherwise, those are all the books that I read this month. I read quite a bit. I don't know how I got through so much, but I did. So yeah, that's cool. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know what you guys read this month, what you enjoyed. Otherwise, I will see you soon with another horror video. Bye, guys.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.